report. The author is David Spike, you can't actually read it, his name's on there, but the date is important, 13th of November 2012. That's November 2012, okay, to January 14. Now, the next date, so this is evidence, this is one slide in that pack, it's a PowerPoint pack, so that's clear evidence that what it's talking about for you is the route down the Gilman Way. There's the 7A junction from that pack. It was called the Emerging Route, Access Study Emerging Route, I think, at that time. The idea was prominent at that time, so that's November 2012. So the next slide, please. In February 2013, so that's nearly 3 months after that report, the full council, in all its glory, had a joint resolution in which the words were read to supports the provision of a new junction, junction 7A on the A11 to the north of Harlow with the appropriate transport network, da-da-da-da. Those are the words on that joint resolution, so that's both Labour and Tory saying this is what we want, spoken to fulsomely, full-heartedly by Andrew Johnson and Mark Wilkinson and others, voted for almost unanimously. There's one exception to that, somebody who knew about the report of November 2012. The rest of the councillors did not know about the report of 2012. I can confirm that because I asked that question of Mark Wilkinson when we last met him, which was the tail end of last year. So, remarkable degree of inquisitiveness on the part of our councillors on the subject that they were voting on that
One
time.
is the capacity of the existing junction onto the motorway, junction 7. There is only the one on that side of Harlow. It is now at capacity. The Highways Agency have told us that. We put forward a planning application with the Harlow District Council last year for the enterprise zone. That had 6,000 jobs associated with it, but the Highways Agency limited that to around about 60% of those jobs because they said the junction would not be able to take any more traffic than that. So that junction from their perspective is full. They can direct refusal of planning applications on that basis, and had we have gone forward with the full 6,000, they would have objected to that. So we've had to write in that we wouldn't go any further without additional capacity being provided to the network. The second key thing is business. Over many, many years now, businesses in Harlow, when they've been serviced, have always said Junction 7 is a major problem for us, getting in and out of Harlow. We need a second junction. So business has been a big driver behind this as well. Network resilience. This is very much in relation to problems that happen at one place and how the network can cope at other locations. Well, obviously with only one junction onto the M11, if it gets blocked, as we all know, the whole town tends to jam up because there are no alternatives. The final thing really I link together, which is regeneration, growth and prosperity. Obviously with the one junction, which as I said is at capacity, those are particularly constrained and the likelihood of people coming in to invest in the town is much removed. So why an eastern access? Well, we've looked at a number of alternatives over the year. Those of you who've been around a fair long time will know about 10 years ago we looked at a northern bypass, and before that Herts looked at a northern bypass as well. At those times they weren't taken forwards for many, many reasons, largely due to cost and also due to the amount of traffic that was likely to use such a route. We have redone many of the tests that were done at that time, and it's good from our perspective that actually the modelling work we've done now actually reiterates the findings of that time, that the volume of traffic that would bypass Harlow is actually relatively small. It's around about 10%.
When I first heard about these proposals, I was reminded of the film just before Christmas of Let's All Go Fly a Kite. And that's what I think Essex County Council are doing. This isn't a government scheme. This is an Essex County Council scheme at the moment. And I spoke with the administration portfolio holder, Rodney Bass, only this morning. Up until recently, he's been talking about this scheme as something that he wanted to keep in his bottom drawer just in case the Ministry of Transport wanted other schemes in Essex. That's far from satisfactory in terms of how to organise Harlow's transport problems. What we have now is not a scheme that was put up there, but according to Rodney Bass, and he should know he's the man in charge, will cost £90 million. Essex is setting aside £5 million of your money already on this scheme to actually encourage industry and jobs in Harlow. Well, you saw the date there, 2021. Essex has got a record of not being able to deliver their capital schemes. And that date, once again, ladies and gentlemen, is pie in the sky. We're talking about the late 2020s, if at all. And with your opposition, which is so overwhelming tonight, if Essex is going to listen to our opinion, then clearly that date will go far into the abeyance. What we do need is that other scheme that we were shown, that red scheme of the bypass to the north, going down to the A414 at Eastwick. It's there, it's been planned, and it needs to actually be propagated. It will cost somewhere in the region of 200.
And what we feel, having listened, two of us having listened to Mr. Spratt himself make his presentation, secondly, most of us having been to the presentations that most of you have seen, we've come to the very, very reluctant conclusion that actually there's not much alternative but the 7A junction where Mr. Spratt is proposing it. Now, this may actually come as a bit of a shock to people here, thinking that Churchgate Street is, which is so deeply affected by this, that some of us in Churchgate Street might actually think in this way. However, of course we are bothered about the amount of traffic. And that is obviously going to increase. Now, I'm hearing at the moment that a northern junction...
Will you use the mic, please?
Sorry. Is that better? Sorry. But of course we're very bothered about the traffic and the increase in it. What we really would want is a continuation of what David Spann called the future proofing. That inner bypass that he suggests might in the future be built, going across the top of the north of the Stort, with access points onto the Sawbridgeworth Road, access points onto Riverview Avenue, to River Way, and what is the name of the and Temple Fields, and continuing on as a route for the 414, carrying it round the town to the north of the Stort and connecting up with Eastwick. And of course, it will also provide access.
It's coming across the Stort of Quincy Valley, and this one's just as bad. David knows my views on it, and I was the lone councillor at that council meeting that when the motion was put last year, because I had some information which David gave me. He was quite happy for it to come into the public domain, which most of the other councils didn't have. So I argued against it then, and I'm arguing against it now. My main argument is the top of your list, David, was congestion. And I can't see that building this eastern bypass is going to solve our congestion, either in or outside. I said all it's going to do is bring congestion to a very high level along Gildon Way and Markhall and 414 there. Because we're going up from something, I think, if I remember the figures, 13,000 vehicles a day, which currently use Gildon Way, coming out from the road into Chelmsford, to something like 30,000 vehicles a day. And those would be heavy lorries, as well as cars and vans. On top of that, there's still other proposals for I can't say much, but there are proposals which may increase that. Harlow North is one of them, which has been mentioned, and if that has any building on it at all, if they want to get to the M11, they will use Gildon Way as well. So that's going to be factored in. It hasn't already been factored in. So I accept everything that's been said tonight, but I'll fight this as long as I'm here. And I think it's.
I very much agree with the contributions that most of the speakers have made, with an exception I'll come to in a moment. a couple of points that haven't quite been made yet. I mean, it's interesting that two of our councillors have spoken and declared their opposition to this. But if I could bring some fairly crude politics into this is a scheme that's being run by Essex County Council. From long experience, Essex County Council has never understood Harlow. Many of the county councillors, not present ones, don't even know what Harlow is, have no interest in it. But also, Essex is totally dominated by the Conservative Party. If our local Conservative councillors are opposed to this scheme, then they know who they've got to go to lobby. Because it's Essex County Council who are driving it. But also, can I refer back to the recent consultation, which I went to, I'm sure many other people did. Firstly, it became very clear to me at that consultation that any concept of paying or the money being found for a northern bypass has already been written off by the county council. They just are not interested in doing it. The furthest they've got, I suspect the furthest they're going to take.
If anybody's seen these presentations from Essex County Council, what they've given us is a fully worked up plan for Gildon Way. I've got a red line, or this is what you also could have. I think it's an affront to the common sense of Harlow people to bring a halo plan to us. It's like a done deal without a worked up solution for Harlow North. What it is, when you look at that plan, it's 47 million, which is a drop in the ocean. I work in a large organisation where I present multi-million pound deals, money. If someone said to me, oh, we've got 19 million of that, it's nearly half the cost of the development. They laugh us out of the room. I say to Essex County Council, go away, rip up this plan, and come back to us. We're not stupid people. There's chartered accountants, there's lawyers, there's people with common sense. There's people who know what they're doing here. Just say, go away and put together a proper plan for all of us.
The solution that I've drafted. Listen carefully. That this meeting, convened by a Harlow Civic Society of 165 people, while recognising the desirability of creating a new additional junction onto the M11 motorway, strongly opposes any proposal to use Gildon Way as the access road for the new junction, which would result in an unacceptable level of traffic congestion in eastern Harlow. It urges that further consideration be given to siting any access to a new junction further north. Now to the vote.